Infinite terrain, infinite possibilities, infinite development. On February 21st, 2010, Notch made a post on his blog about a new concept he had in mind: infinitely large maps. And so he talked about some technical stuff that we'll get into later, but he also proposed some basic ideas for infinite worlds. For example, traveling between planes of existence, including the moon, NPC villages and monster towns, and big multiplayer servers, unlike the ones from Classic. 2 days later, on February 23rd, 2010, Notch made another post about more technical details on how he would make infinite worlds. For example, splitting the rendering and game logic into chunks, which will probably be 16 by 16 by 16 cubes of blocks. He also proposed making water infinite, unlike the finite water that InDev had. Additionally, these 16 by 16 by 16 chunks will be saved to disk, instead of requiring a manual save like in InDev. However, these infinite worlds won't actually be infinite. They'll be 324 nonillion blocks in area. They'll be generated as you go along, and the farther away the fog is from you, the more are loaded at one time. And finally, light changes are going to roll across the map, instead of how it was in InDev, where it would suddenly become day or night. A couple days later, on February 26, 2010, Notch asks a new question. How deep will this world be? Well, making it a fixed depth instead of infinite depth would make things a lot easier to code, but he's not quite sure on the number. 1,000 tiles seems pretty good for now. By the next day, February 27th, 2010, Notch seems to have a working version. However, he's run into many bugs while testing, such as the ground jumping around and many chunks not getting updated. He's decided on a height of 256 rather than the 1,000 proposed before, but the most interesting thing in this post is the first ever screenshot of infinite terrain. As you can see, there is a fairly large fog compared to how InDev worked, and you can't see too far in front of you. Also, you can see that there are no trees, but still lots of flowers. Finally, later that day, Notch had a version with infinite worlds ready for the public to test. It's still just as buggy as the last one, but we can play it in just a moment. However, it is worth noting that Notch has decided on a depth of 128 for this version only, and plans on increasing it eventually. But aside from that, there's nothing else to note. So let's jump on into this February 27th version of Minecraft Inf Dev. And here it is. Minecraft Inf Dev 2010-0227. The playing around version of Minecraft Inf Dev that Notch released on February 27th. The title screen looks exactly the same as all of InDev, basically. So let's try and load BetaWorld. Why not? Oh, it just brought it back to the title screen. This is because level loading and saving has been disabled for this version. So we're going to have to create a new world. Let's just make it the default for now. I doubt these do anything. Oh, I spawned in water. Okay, let's get a reroll. This isn't very good. Much better. So, as you can see, we've spawned on top of this obsidian structure that goes in 4 different directions. Now, fun fact, this structure will actually go infinitely in every single direction and is a good indicator of, which direction you're going and if you're close to a cardinal direction. It's 2 blocks tall and it goes off in all of them. You may have also noticed that I have glass and planks in my inventory. Why is that? Well, that is because when I try to break this dirt block over here, nothing drops. Block drops have been temporarily disabled for this version as well, so these are the only ones I get to. However, building when you already have an item is perfectly fine. There's also a neat bug with building this version where I can place blocks inside of myself and get X-ray. Not that that's all that useful, since there's no caves in this version either. Additionally, you may notice that the skybox has been heavily simplified. The clouds look off, and the sky is very saturated blue. Also, my skin isn't here anymore. I'm just the default Steve. But also, you wouldn't know because when I press F5, my skin doesn't render. Another interesting glitch in this version is there is no blocked updates. So if I break this block underneath this dandelion, it will stay there. Weird. Let's have a look at this generation, though. That's the main highlight of this version, after all. It'll generate basically like this flat terrain and then some occasional peaks with no trees and just the occasional flower. So look at that mountain. There's lots of stone, but there's no ores. Very fun to just walk around forever and see what you can see. As you saw earlier in that failed attempt in spawning the world, oceans do also exist in this version. If you go far enough in one direction, you might find the Brick Pyramid, which is a pyramid of bricks that stretches up all the way to world height limit. It's got an amazing view from up top. I know it's a bit early to have updated it again, but there's really not that much for me to do in these versions that don't have saving, and unfortunately this is another one. So we're just going to look at what's new and move on again. Level loading still doesn't work in this version, so we're going to create a new world and see what happens. My spawning inventory is quite different. We've still got the absurd amount of glass and planks like last time. We've also got some torches, flint and steel, a diamond shovel, a diamond pickaxe, and the water and lava blocks. So let's have a look if they behave any differently. Torches seem about the same as they did before. Steel does. Block shops have still been disabled, but at least I can make them faster now. Durability is also here. Let's try out the water and lava blocks now. I'm on fire. So they're functional, but they don't spread. Interesting. Now, the water was like this in the last version. I just didn't show it. But lava was unpaintable in the last version, so it's good to know that it behaves like this as well. Now, obviously, most things I said about the last version still apply, like F5 being non-functional, my skin not running properly, and this stuff with the dandelions. Also looks like this fire isn't going away anytime soon. Anyway, I figured this time we would do some random exploring. Since the obsidian wall happens to be gone, there's not an easy way of telling which direction I'm going in, but we can at least see how chunks pop into existence a little better. As you can see, they're a little lighter the farther you go away. And if you look really close, they kind of pop right when I get close enough. I can change how close they need to be to pop into existence by pressing the F key, or the render distance button. See, all the chunks re-pop into existence once I raise my render distance. You can actually use this to see through the ground, although there's not much for you to see, since caves are still disabled. As you can see, this terrain generator is a bit different from the last one, and it generates a lot more water than before. As you can see, the sun has been moving this whole time. That's because the daylight cycle has been re-implemented from InDev. It was not present in the last version. However, it's actually going quite a bit faster than it did in InDev. So let's watch another sunset, just like we did when the daylight cycle was first added. You're noticing now these clouds look really weird. It's like they're attached to my player. Not darker. This looks about the same as it did in InDev, just faster. I'm guessing for testing purposes. Now that it is safely nighttime, let's see if any monsters spawn, just like they did in InDev. Monsters are there. Not seen any. Well, that is because in this version and the last version, monsters have been disabled, along with the passive ones. All mobs have been removed from the game, and that's also why items aren't in the game. I am the only mob or entity that is in the game at the moment. One more fun fact before we upgrade again. If I open the inventory, that causes a game crash. Okay, let's upgrade. That brings us to the next version, which came out only a couple days later rather than the huge gap from last time. Let's make a new world and see what's different. The inventory is different once again. The diamond shovel and pickaxe are still here, but this time there's a diamond axe as well. Torches are here, flint and steel is here, planks are here, glass is here, but now there's a bow and arrow. And there's a good reason why. Let me shoot an arrow and let's see what happens. I can shoot arrows again. Oh, that's odd. The arrows spawn mobs, which have been reintroduced in this version. Which also means, yay, I can get items from blocks again. Woohoo! I love the sense of completion. Except the game's still not quite complete yet. There's some serious issues still. Things that haven't been added back yet, like level saving. But at least the daily cycle's fixed now. That's basically everything of note, so let's update again. Okay, next version. Make a new world. And wow, things are different again. There's trees and ores again. Now, obviously, my hotbar has changed. Back to stacks of 64 rather than the 999. Everything's the same, and add the TNT. Let's see if that works. It probably should, since entities haven't been added. Yep, that worked just fine. Awesome. There's a cool glitch I wanted to show you, but I gotta set up. If I take this furnace and I place a piece of glass up here, and then I break the furnace will drop, but the glass won't. It would have had it where it would drop. And if I place it back down, obviously you can see the glass isn't in there. But if I break the furnace once again, and I place it back in the same spot it was before, the glass will be in there. It kind of like saves where the block is. Very fascinating. And this works with chests too. You know, hold on. I wonder what will happen if I break a furnace, then I place a chest down there. Here, let's check. We've got the glass in the furnace. Break the furnace. Not gonna drop, so let's place the chest down and game crash. This version has brought back a very, very important Minecraft feature, so let's see if I can find one. While we're looking, this version also introduces some issues. Because it adds back in flower decay when they're, in invalid position. See, I can break this block, the flower will pop off. There's some extreme lag and memory leakage going on in this version. So I should be a little careful and, not play for too long. You can already see the game will start to lag. The feature that I'm looking for that got re-added is caves. Not sure if I'll be able to find any. This is great with the re-addition of ores in the last version. However, you can only find surface ores like that iron and those coals over there. And now there's caves, once again. Oh, my frame rate's horrible. Oh! Well, you can sort of see a cave over there. Oh, yep. My game is done for. I think it's best we exit this version. However, this is the last version of Minecraft we will be playing today, because the next version, well, that's a story for next episode. So, until then, if you like what you see, please consider liking and subscribing. And until I make that video, bye-bye!